welcome. I'm Cory Schneider. Thank you. Oh, I love being out here on the lanai. It's so intimate. I feel like I'm in a session. So, what had happened was... No, but what had happened was I grew up in a very small Christian conservative town of Elgin, Texas. And we were farmers. Well, not myself. Daddy was a farmer. I was a make-believer. Because I used to love TV. I would watch TV and then go and be the characters that I saw on TV. And my most favorite one was Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. Because she had her lasso of truth and, you know, those boots that just came all the way up to her knee. And she would just jump and land and be so powerful. And I just loved it. Oh, and then the change, you know, when she became Wonder Woman, she would go out and like survey the scene and just throw her hands and twirl. She would stop. I mean, she just had it on point, right? The coolest thing was her hands. I mean, they were so graceful. They were like swans. And I don't know what it is about me or what it was, but I just zeroed in on those fingers and saw them just cascade across. It was like a cascade of fingers. Cascade, cascade, cascade. Oh, and don't even get me started on Firestarter. You guys were a part of, I wanted that telekinetic energy where I could just look at something and like have it spontaneously combust. Okay, maybe that was kind of like Carrie, I don't know. I mixed up the characters. This is me out in the pasture playing with the cows. And my sisters and my brother would like tease me. They would be like, Cory, nothing's happening. You're not powerful. You have no magic. And I was like, Wonder Woman does not use her magic for bad. She stands for justice. Right? Oh my God, you guys remember that show Dallas? With that amazing main title where it would start, it would be so epic and it would be like dun 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 dun, and the frame of the TV would zoom in on that big Dallas mansion and be like dun 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 dun, and like dun 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 dun. This is me and Daddy's early bonding experience. Daddy would sit there and watch the show, and I would just sit in for the main title because once that main title came on, I mean, I was a famous supermodel in Paris. And I would just get on those tippy toes and I would be like dun 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 dun. And I would feel like, you know how Sue Ellen, she was like cunty, she was like, and I just would do that walk. What my father must have thought. I mean, you know, that's my boy. And I didn't have a mom around because like my mom divorced my father when I was 3. So like on the divorce papers or whatever, she was like, I don't want those goddamn kids. XOXO Linda. So that was her chapter. No, but Daddy raised us. I was just this happy-go-lucky kid. And then in the 1st grade, I met Kizzy and Tanya. And Kizzy and Tanya were these 2 African-American girls, and they just had these beautiful braids that came out of their hair. And they had the lingo down in the early 80s. I mean, they said everything like child and girl. And I sat right next to these 2 girls at lunch every day. And so we would all kind of share our lunches. This is how I adopted my behavior. First I was Wonder Woman, Firestarter, you know, Sue Ellen from Dallas. Then I became Kizzy and Tanya. And can you imagine, you know, a 1st grade boy in Elgin, Texas walking down, you know, the hallways of school being like, child and girl, you need to pick that up. I thought it was fabulous. After a while, I started to hear a couple of epithets like fag or sissy. Sissy was probably first, I think. We didn't graduate to the word faggot until 4th grade. So then in the 5th grade, I developed this friend, Craig, who was also in the 5th grade. And Craig and I knew each other from church. He would later become like captain of the football team and quarterback and be like Mr. It man on campus. And so like he would stay over at my house. We'd have these sleepovers, and I had my little Fisher-Price radio. And anytime Belinda Carlisle, Circle in the Sand came on, I was like, circle in the sand around, and I would sing the song and be like, Craig, I'm dancing for you. Watch me dance. I don't know why I was like some trained seal trying to get the attraction of another male. And then I started middle school. And middle school is just that awkward period in everybody's life, no matter how much you try to like be prepared for it, you're not. I mean, you have braces, you have a mullet. So for whatever reason, I joined the football team, mullet and all. I was number 48. Our colors were purple and white. We would do these drills where we would be having to work out, and it was like these safety drills, because that was my title, safety. Title, my role, whatever, I don't even care, my position. Now it's bottom, no, I'm just kidding, but, your position in football. So we had to do these drills where we would be like, ball, 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 and then jump and catch the ball and be like, bingo, right? And a couple times I could do it. I mean, I wasn't that athletic, but this one particular kid decided to come up to me after practice when everybody was changing out. He basically just confronted me and was like, you're a faggot, aren't you? You're a faggot. Say it, I'm a faggot. Say it, you're a faggot. And I was stunned by that language. What do I do? Then no sooner did he ask me another question, he slapped me. Every time he slapped me, he said, you're a faggot, aren't you? I didn't know what to do. Luckily for me, a coach at that time came in. And it wasn't that he intervened, he just started to gather up the guys to talk about the plays of the day. And so everybody just sort of went about their business. And of course, I'm standing there just in dread, not kind of recognizing what had happened. That night I went home and I thought, how am I gonna go back to school? I mean, I gotta go back to school. Wonder Woman would not walk away from this. So the next day I was like, I'm gonna show them. And no sooner did I get to my locker did I notice the word fag etched into my locker, which remained there even after I told my coach about it, who called me Twinkle Toes and told me to buck up. It was kind of at that time where I knew that something was amiss about me. And I knew that this wasn't typical of the way boys should behave. They shouldn't idolize Wonder Woman. They shouldn't idolize runwaying in Paris or something. Which I don't know why. It's fabulous. Do you ever feel like when you're in danger and you know it, and you're like, something about this is not right, I shouldn't be here, and then maybe you modify things? So I was going to go back to the locker room after PE class, and I knew something was wrong. I went and told my coach, Coach Schneider, and I was like, Coach, you've got to accompany me to the locker room because I know something bad's gonna happen. I can feel it. And no sooner did she follow me around the corner into the locker room, I was clotheslined. Luckily, I had somebody there to witness what I had been experiencing. And she was able to tell the principal and so forth and got him expelled and so forth and so on. I knew that I wasn't safe. The Friday we were released before Christmas, I had these group of guys that came up behind me, sort of held me down and sprayed me with like that shit that you flock trees with. I could not get it off of me. I was able to clean myself, but still I found out in crevices and this, that, and the other. And I went home that Friday and I sat in my bathroom. And I was sitting there with a bottle of pills, looking at the pills, contemplating really going through with this, and I hear this knock on the door, right? And it's my stepmother, Darcy, who's like my guardian angel. And this is probably one of her first interventions, unknowingly. But she knocks on the door and she's like, Cory, and I'm like, what? And she's like, we're gonna go to Austin. We have a show to go. And I was like, show? And she was like, yeah, I bought tickets to Nonsense. And I was like, Nonsense? I mean, there is nothing that's gonna pull you out of suicidal ideation than Broadway! That was my escape, so that's where I learned. That's my resilience. Television is my resilience. These women are my resilience. Broadway's my resilience. Show business is my resilience, right? I was deathly terrified about being gay. And I kind of knew I was, but definitely tried to play it off. And there was this one girl, Amanda. I call her Dumanda, but you'll see why. I had known her for several years, and we had always gotten along, but one particular night she came over, she was staying over with my sister, and she somehow snuck into my room and she woke me up and she was like, hey, Cory, wake up. So I was terrified. I was like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You're a girl. Which probably any, boy in the 8th grade would be like, yeah, come on in. Not me, I'm like, no. And then she hops into my bed and she was very advanced, very aggressive. She's like, Cory, and she started to touch herself and almost even pet herself. And then her hand started to go down there and she was like, oh, I think we should just mess around. And I was like, what do you mean mess around? And she was like, oh, just put your hand. And so she took my hand and put it on her mons pubis. I'll be PC about it. And it was all wet and mossy. And I was like, what is this? And she was like, oh, I think we should do it. I think we should have sex. And I was like, Amanda, that's gonna ruin our friendship. Finally, it came to me reconciling, this is it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna be a man, I'm gonna be straight if I do this. Couldn't get it up. could not for the life of me. And then she was like, you can't get it up, maybe you are gay. And I'm like, no, I can get it up, I get it. So I'm in the bathroom, God, please let me get it up, right? Did not work. Meanwhile, on or around that time, International Mail Catalog finds itself into my mailbox. I could get it up then. I was foaming at the mouth. I mean, you see those guys, and they're hot to begin with, and then you see them in their underwear, and then they're wearing like these mesh undies, right? It's got the little holes in it, and you see that just, the outline, and it's just all pouty. It's just like pouty, and you just want to like reach out and cup it or something, you know? And you're just like, yes! Right? And I was able to cope with the expression. I was able to start to cope with the orientation thing. But the bullying sort of progressed so much so that I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out of town. I gotta figure out a way to make believe myself somewhere else. So I was like, I'm gonna become an exchange student. So that's what I did. I went to Austria for a year. And I mean, it's Europe, right? So European men are more flamboyant and feminine to begin with. I mean, guys would sit and they would cross their legs and no one would call them a faggot for it. I mean, nobody would point out and think that their behavior was different. And guys would even kiss each other on the lips. I mean, I kissed my Austrian host father on the lips all the time, and nobody ever batted an eyelash or said faggot this or faggot that. And I was like, I'm in heaven. You know, I was like, if this is what it's like, I can maybe go back to the States, come out, and if it's a bad experience, I could go back to Austria, not come out, and still be me. Because nobody would call me a fag, right? The first one I came out to was my stepmother, Darcy, on Easter. Because all of us queens want to come out to people on the holidays. Just makes it brighter. So anyways, I told her, she accepted me with open arms. She said, I figured that. That's all she had to say, and we hugged, and it was never discussed again. My father, on the other hand, was like, boy, I think you got a screw loose. But he accepted it. But that was all we talked about it. My senior year of high school, I did half-a-days because it was like work-study where you went to school till 12 and then you went to your work. I worked at Red Lobster. Where I met all these fabulous queens who ushered me out of the closet in majestic glitter. Right around Dios de los Muertos, so like right around the end of October, beginning of November. The Spanish class did this makeshift cemetery where they had these little tombstones and like fog and all sorts of, you know, skeletons and things like that. And on a tombstone read, R.I.P. Cory, faggot, AIDS. And I went to the administration, who didn't remove the tombstone because it was art that the Spanish class had created. I knew who had singled me out and done this. His name was Charlie Luton. And there I said it, Charlie Luton. If I could have set someone on spontaneous combustion, I would have telekinetic his ass to fucking China. I was so mad. And so I bust into the class that he's in, and I just took that desk and I just pushed it all the way to the edge of the wall. I mean, I was like seeing red, right? And I was like, Carrie. Miss Allen, the history teacher, was like, Cory, you need to stop. You need to stop doing this. We don't want to fight. Go leave campus. Go do what you want. This, that, and the other. And so I left. Well, the next day, leaving school with my friend Teresa, she and I are walking out of the same class. And I drove this 1985 Honda Accord. It was gray, right? And it was very not shiny. And so I'm walking out to it, and there's this like shiny piece glittering underneath. So I looked at my friend Teresa, and I was like, Teresa, what is that on my car? And she goes like, oh, I didn't think they were gonna do that. And I was like, do what? And she goes, well, there was talk that they were going to try to electrocute you. And I was like, what do you mean electrocute? So we proceed to my car further, and I noticed there's like a piece of wire coming out of the back end that runs all the way underneath the car into the hood. And when you open up the hood of the car, you could see all of these wires that were there that were connected to the ignition of the car, so that when I were to put my key and tap metal to metal, it would spark and thus erupt. Needless to say, I did not get in that car because my Wonder Woman powers were very perceptive. So immediately I was like, holy shit. So I called my parents. So my dad tells me, well, I think you need to go to the police. So I take my best friend Jenna and we drive to the police station. And I mean, she's crying, I'm crying. I'm just like, how can this happen? Why are these people so mean? I file a police report, and then the next day I go to school and the police are there, All 3 guys were there with their parents, and the school principal was there, and the counselor was there, and they sort of tried to have this intervention. And it was all aimed towards, Cory, don't you want to do the right thing? One of the kids' mothers pleaded with me, and she was like, so-and-so can't, join the fire department if he has a criminal something against him, so please withdraw the charges. And every single person asked me to withdraw the charges. And I withdrew the charges. And I don't know if it's something that I regret. I haven't quite processed through that. Thinking that I had walked away, the pastor of my church calls me into his office, and he sits me down, and he says, Cory, some concerned members of the congregation have heard that you're out, about your sexual orientation and that you're very proud about it. And he said, I just want you to know that's not what I want for you, that's not what God wants for you, and that's not what this congregation wants for you. I was like, I beg your pardon? No, I had to take a step back, and I was like, Pastor Sullivan, have you not heard that 3 guys who have bullied me relentlessly through primary school, elementary school, junior high, just tried to blow me up or electrocute me in my car? I pressed charges and withdrew them like Jesus would. I said, did you bring them into your office to talk to them about their behavior? And he looked at me and he said, Cory, this is not about them right now. This is about you and your salvation. Well, I stood right up from that chair and I said, well, let me tell you, Pastor Sullivan, just so you know. And so your children will know. I mean, I was all Julius Sugar back here on his ass. Actually, that's what I wanted to do. That's what Wonder Woman would have done. She would have sought out justice. But what I did was I sat there, and when he asked me, Cory, are you gay? I said no. I said, why would you even think that? I'm not gay. I completely just walked away from it. I denied who I was and who I had worked so hard to try to figure out. I walked out of that office so ashamed for who I was, it was just, I don't even know if I ever made sense about it. I just feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed for myself. I feel embarrassed for not standing up to him and not saying, yes, I am. I just didn't have the cojones at the time, I guess, to say it. The cool thing was, it was my senior year, I was done. I actually graduated in December, half semester early. And I think because of all the stuff, my principal somehow fudged the numbers just so I could graduate. Just to say that I had completed my units. So then I thought I was free. I was free from all of it. I didn't have any of these guys and any of their entourage targeting me. I went to the University of Texas, and I noticed that every time I would go into a classroom or whatever, somehow I would modify my behavior. I would do the lowering my voice thing. I would not be so flamboyant, or try. But I would really try to not be who I was. Just as I couldn't with Pastor Sullivan admit who I was, even though I was reconciling on the inside, I couldn't outwardly say, yes, I'm a homosexual. It wasn't okay. And then I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll move to Los Angeles. Because all the gays live there. I move out to LA, and the first acting teacher I get is Leslie Kahn. And she goes, Cory, you're from Texas, right? I go, oh yeah, I'm from, Texas. Try to butter her up. You read gay. Wonder Woman comes out. I beg your pardon? You read gay. Bitch, I heard you the first time. I come all the way out from Texas to Los Angeles and you want to shit on my dreams in 5 minutes? And she goes, that's okay. We can send you to voice lessons with Bob Korf. We can send you over here to DK your mannerisms. We'll fix you right up. It's magic. Make-believe. Meanwhile, I was coming out, so I was meeting guys and dating and so forth on my personal life. But in my professional life, I had to tone it down. And every time I would go in an audition, they were like, you're not Jack from Will and Grace. And I was like, yes, I am! Damn it! Why wasn't I 5 years earlier? I could have been me! But I realized that bullying just kept impacting me in everything that I did. And then I started to experience it on like an environmental level. I came out, I was proud about it, I was marching, and then the government started saying, yes, you can get married, no, you can't, and then Prop 8, and then politicians would say, gay's an abomination, and this, that, and the other, and it was as if the Charlies and the Juliuses and the Lindsays became all of these higher leaders in a larger echelon of life. And then in 2010, 8 teenagers killed themselves because they were targets of anti-LGBT bullying. All I could see was me or them or not being there for them or Pastor Sullivan or doing something for them. And I thought, somebody's got to do something. Yet Wonder Woman again, justice. My acting career clearly was going nowhere. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll go back to school. So I went back to school and I got my master's degree in clinical psychology. I specialized in LGBT studies, and my thesis was all on bullying. And so since then, I have gone nationally to conferences to impart not only my story, but also the knowledge of how to intervene when somebody writes fag on somebody's locker. How to, first and foremost, paint it over. Second of all, how to sit down with that kid and be like, whether you are or you aren't, we don't even care. We just love you. How to intervene on that level, because people could not intervene on that level with me for whatever reason. And then as I started to do more research, I recognized it was teachers' attitudes, values, and beliefs in the classroom that really came into matter. These teachers who are in front of 30, 40 students at a time, if they have an inkling of anti-LGBT sentiment or homophobia, that kid is going to pick up on it, because we are all brilliant. Our central nervous system is triggered to pick up danger, to pick up sassy-assness, to pick up bad wardrobe choices. Our inclination is such, and I don't want teachers in those classrooms to sit there and give any bit of ambiguity away, because kids will make shit up, and the things we make up are the negative stuff. We don't sit there and be like, I'm so included with everything. We sit there and think that we're hated, we're bad, we're wrong, we're indifferent. And I am here to tell you that I couldn't be gayer. Okay? I am the faggiest, gayest, cock-suckingest motherfucker there is. And I love it. And if you're out there and you feel that way too, cheers to you. And Wonder Woman!